Welcome, and thank you for tuning in to the Sunday services at Center for Spiritual Living, Denver. We are a loving and prospering community in the heart of Denver and online. We now conduct hybrid services at the historic Grant Avenue Community Center and Sacred Place, located at 216 South Grant Street, Denver, Colorado. All are welcomed here. A place, space, and face of love. We are a spiritual community practicing universal principles that enrich our lives. We are grateful that you have blessed us with your presence. While online, we'd love to know you're watching with us. Feel free to leave a comment and let everyone appreciate you. With everything going on, life can feel overwhelming. CSL Denver wants you to know we are here for you. Please know that our practitioners are available for personal prayer work. Our licensed spiritual practitioners' names and phone numbers are available on our website at csldenver.org. Or if you have a prayer request, feel free to email it to info@csldenver.org. For your convenience, you'll find clickable links in the description of this broadcast. Rev El Zia, along with all our guest speakers, practitioners, service coordinators, and musical inspirations, want you to know how truly grateful we are that you are with us today. Thank you for your continued support and participation in our services, workshops, and events, as well as providing financial contributions to our center. If you're interested in upcoming events and information, we send out weekly newsletters. Sign up by visiting www.csldenver.org. We deliver services in a hybrid format where we meet in person at 216 South Grant Street. We will also continue to live stream all services on Facebook and YouTube every Sunday. Find us on our respective channels as well as on New Thought Media Network. Again, thank you for your precious attention. Now prepare for engaging enlightenment.
There is a garden where dreams come true, a beautiful garden where God's grace blooms. There is a garden where everything grows, a beautiful garden where love is sown. And in this place of light and love, you can have anything that you're dreaming of. There is a garden where dreams come true, a beautiful garden. That garden is you. And in this place of light and love, you can have anything that you're dreaming of. There is a garden where dreams come true. A beautiful garden, that garden is you. Such a beautiful garden, that garden is you.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Giselle. I'm a practitioner here. And we welcome this day, and if I'll do a little invocation if we all want to settle into our chairs and just take a nice deep breath as much as you can. Hold it at the top and let it go. A couple ins and outs. So this morning we welcome each other. We welcome our community. We say hello and welcome everybody who is watching from home, everybody who's going to watch from later in the week, everyone who is enjoying this almost summer day, wherever they may be on vacation or whatever. Take another deep breath, and we are reminded of how wonderful our community is and how we are one with every person on earth, including our source energy, the source of our being. We are the source of our well-being. We are the energy. And we take another deep breath, and we are mindful of how wonderful life is, and that we can count on each other, and that the beauty of life is in its compassion and its love. And again, we say hello to everyone at home, and we welcome Reverend Robert here today. And I'd say it was funny, but maybe he won't be today. No, he'll be funny, trust me. And thanks to all of our tech people and to everyone in our community. We really appreciate it. So another deep breath and just let it go. And so it is. Today's reading is from Dr. Terry Reid's book, Epiphanies, A Practical Guide to Wisdom. And it's a story called It Takes a Village. His father carried him into the clinic exam room, not because he was too young to walk, but because he was born with a deformed foot. Carlos was 5 years old and had never walked like the rest of us because he was born with a club foot. In the US, this would have been a momentary shock at birth, and then doctors would have cast the foot and ankle immediately in order to correct the deformity by the time Carlos learned to walk. However, in his village in northern Nicaragua, that type of treatment could never happen. You would have to go to the country's only children's hospital in Managua, which was about 200 miles away, and the cost would have been prohibitive to his family. Fortunately, humans are quite adaptable, so Carlos learned to walk the best he could on his deformed foot. It required walking on the outer edge of his ankle, and that caused him to wear out the leather of his shoes quickly, like once every couple of weeks. His parents could no longer afford to buy him shoes, so with no shoes, he could not go to school or play outside with the other kids. So here he was in my makeshift clinic in that rural village. Don't go. So here he was in my makeshift clinic in his rural village, and it's not connecting to the internet again. Stop that. He wanted some help from American doctors who had come to town on a medical mission. After a thorough exam, I was pleased to see that he was an otherwise very healthy 5-year-old. His dad told me all about how Carlos wanted to play soccer with the other kids and how he enjoyed watching the local teams. Carlos also really wanted to go back to school, like his friends. I knew I had to do something to help, but what could I do? That evening, some friends and I went on a scavenger hunt to look for something that would fit the bill. On our quest, we quickly learned that there was no shoe store in this village. This was going to be a bit more of a challenge than we thought, but we were undeterred. And as we continued on our walk, we happened upon a workshop where men made heavy-duty work boots. I was fascinated by the amount of work it took to make sturdy leather boots. The shop was set up in stations, and each station required a specific expertise. These craftsmen were artists, really, and it occurred to me that they could certainly design a special shoe for a special foot. All I needed to do was to convince these busy men to take on the challenge. I showed them a photo of Carlos and a close-up of his foot and asked if they could create a boat for him that would not wear out so quickly. Next thing I knew, all work stopped in the shop, and the 5 craftsmen gathered around a drafting table, drawing and discussing how this might be accomplished. I asked if they thought it was possible, and they all answered with a resounding "of course." The next day, they measured Carlos's foot carefully, and they went to work. Now, I assumed the shoes would be expensive, so I shared Carlos's story with the rest of our medical team. Everyone wanted to be a part of the process and gave willingly. Within another 24 hours, these craftsmen completed the boots, and they fit perfectly. Carlos and the boot makers were over the moon. I thanked the owner for being willing to do something so different to help this little boy. The owner assured me that this small workshop would continue to make boots for Carlos as his feet grew, and there would never be a charge. These craftsmen were willing to share their special talents to help a little village boy have a more normal life, a shining example of how it takes a village. So on Friday, I actually talked with the author, and I asked her about the flame within that made them keep going when they had no shoe shop in town, and how they connected with source energy to get this done. And Dr. Reed said, she said, they held a group prayer and meditation meeting after meeting Carlos, and something inside of her said, take a walk. It was night, and no shops were open, and there was no shoe store, period. Then they walked down the road they took to the clinic, the same street they walked down every single day on the way to work. Suddenly, they saw lights in a building. Terry said it was a miracle. It was the boot-making factory. I trusted my connection to source energy, and now Carlos is back in school and playing soccer with his pals. And Ernest Holmes observes, compassion is the most gentle of all human virtues, for it is the outpouring of the divine givingness through all. And now let's have some music from Gary Lynn Floyd.
Good morning, CSL Denver. Gary Lynn Floyd back with you this morning. Since the theme today is igniting the flame within, I thought I would do this song that I wrote a while back. It's called Inner Joy, and we can all sing it together. Here's the affirmation. The affirmation is, I set ablaze the fire of inner joy. All right? It goes like this. I set ablaze the fire of inner joy. That's it. I set ablaze the fire of inner joy. Sing that with me. I set ablaze the fire of inner joy. I set ablaze the fire of inner joy. The second part goes like this. Set my inner joy ablaze, blazing like a fire. Set my inner joy ablaze. Sing that again with me. Set my inner joy ablaze, blazing like a fire. Set my inner joy ablaze. All right, let's go back to the top. Here we go. I set ablaze the fire of inner joy. Sing that again. I set ablaze the fire of inner joy. Let's sing it a couple more times. I set ablaze the fire of inner joy. Yeah, doesn't that feel good? I set ablaze the fire of inner joy. Set my inner joy ablaze. Here we go. Set my inner joy ablaze, blazing like a fire. Set my inner joy ablaze. Sing that again. Set my inner joy ablaze, blazing like a fire. Set my inner joy ablaze. Let's go back to the top one more time. I set ablaze the fire of inner joy. I set ablaze the fire of inner joy. I set ablaze the fire of inner joy. Here we go. I set ablaze the fire of inner joy. All right. You sound great this morning. Thank you.
Thank you to Gary, Lynn, Floyd. The only thing that would make today any better is if he was sitting right there on the piano. Don't you agree? We're going to work on that. I promise. We're going to work on that. Thank you for having me back, Center for Spiritual Living Denver. It's always great to be with you. I love this community. I love the smiles. I love the love. I love the recognition that we give each other when we get together on Sunday mornings. And for everyone watching out online, I think I'm on that camera at the moment. Everyone watching out online, thank you for being with us as well. Hit the like, share, and subscribe buttons. Let your friends and family know what we're doing. Join us here on our hybrid service every Sunday. Igniting the flame within. Long ago, a dear friend of mine and a teacher shared a quote from a stage, and I don't really remember where it was, but I do remember that it became very instrumental to my life. And it's very simple. The quality of your life is directly proportional to the quality of your questions. I think everybody just agreed with that. Thank you. If you're out online nodding, thank you for that as well. The quality of our lives are directly proportional to the quality of our questions, which means the only real thing we have to do is ask good questions. Another great friend shared a quote with me long ago that said, the only relevant spiritual question is, why in this moment are you not dancing for joy? And we get that reaction from that quote quite often as well, because when I hear that quote, I think, well, sometimes life isn't joyful. Sometimes I'm having a tough time finding the joy. And is that really a spiritual question, or is that a human question? Is that a divine question? Not very often in public do I share what I'm about to share, because this idea of powerful questions is, I feel, so adequately reflected in this. A whole bunch of years ago now, I packed up my family and we left Colorado. And we had a 26-foot truck with a car towing behind it, and another car behind that with 2 dogs, 2 kids, a cat, and a whole tank of fish. I didn't know fish could get seasick, but I'm pretty sure they did on that drive. And I remember the moment very clearly. For the first time in the trip, Laura, my wife, came up and sat in the front with me in the big truck, and my brother was driving the kids and the animals and more houseplants than we could count. And the phone rang. Don't you know, it always starts with a phone call. Always starts with a phone call. And the phone rang, and all I could hear was, "I am so sorry, Mrs. Brzezinski." And at that moment, my mind kind of shut off. And I heard Laura talking to this person, and okay, well, what do we do now? Can you help us? What about? She hung up, looks at me and says, "Well," I said, "Yeah, that's my question. Well, what's going on?" She was very clear. She said, "That was the real estate agent. The house that we were about to move into is no longer available. The homeowners decided to sell rather than to rent to us." Now, this had nothing to do with us. It was a total decision that was just made based on someone else's desires for life. Laura looked at me and she said, "What do we do?" It's a pretty powerful question. I said, "Well, I'm driving, so you start praying. And when we get down to Portland in a few hours, I'll open up my computer and we'll take a look and we'll jump onto that website we've been using to try to find a rental." And I'll tell you, at this time, it was really actually kind of tough to find a rental home that we felt would work for what we were looking for. Number of bedrooms, space for the kids, all of this. When you know it, we arrived in Portland. I flipped open my computer, and there on the map was this little purple dot. It was a little purple dot that wasn't there 2 days earlier when I closed my computer, and it was a house for sale. Now, in the time it took me to learn to find this, I had learned that nobody in that community picked up the phone after 5 o'clock, at least not rental agents or real estate agents. And it was about 5:15 as I'm looking at this little purple dot on my computer and said, "What the heck?" And I picked up the phone and I called. There's always a phone call. The miracle was someone picked up. Because the gentleman that picked up was not a real estate agent. He was a friend doing a friend a favor. Within a half an hour, we had an application in. We had everything we needed faxed up to him. The only thing left to do was take a look at the house. Next morning, we got up early. I sent Laura and the kids ahead. My brother and I drove that slow 26-foot truck with the car towing behind it all the way up to where we were supposed to be. Now, we didn't have room to pull the truck down into the neighborhood where we were about to live, so we parked it up on a road and walked down. And as we walked down, I could see a whole group of people that were waiting to unload that truck and my wife. And I said, "What do you think?" And she said, "It'll work." I said, "Okay, where are you off to?" She says, "I'm on the way to the bank to get the money." And in a couple hours, we unloaded that truck. Miracle upon miracle upon miracle was igniting a flame within me because everything was falling into place. Even in the midst of what seemed like adversity, miracles occurred. Until they didn't. It's about 6 or 8 months later that I was sitting in contemplation about the future. And I was asking myself questions because I knew there were powerful questions being asked around the community. And it was at that moment that another phone call came in. You know by now, it always starts with a phone call. Yes. Only this time it was somebody I knew. It was somebody that held a much higher position in an organization that I belonged to at the time. And I was confused. Why would this person be calling me on a Sunday afternoon of all times? And that's when I heard it. "Robert, I'm so sorry. The board's going to ask for your resignation this afternoon." What? I will say I might have asked some questions at that exact moment that
Well, let's just say they weren't the most in the best questions or the most powerful questions to ask at that time. Some of them actually have, little 3-letter acronyms that you can use. And I had about 3 hours between the phone call and the meeting that I now knew was going to change the course of my life and the course of my family's life. I went through every scenario possible. How could I save this? How could I fix this? I'm trained. I understand all this stuff. I know how this works. I can fix this. So just give me a chance. So I walked away from that meeting that late that afternoon and that evening. It felt like there was no chance. The answer was no. God had slapped me upside the head and said, nope, not going to happen. Not here. And it took a while for us as a family to make a decision about what would come next. And truthfully, in that moment, in those moments following, I realized I am absolutely free. I am free to do anything I want to do. We are free to go anywhere we want to go. Because no matter what happens, I lived in a deep sense of confidence and assurance that the divine had not brought us to this place to deny us, to leave us hanging out, abandoned on the side of the road. We had been brought to this place for our own greatest experience, our own greatest good, our own great learning. Over time, few months, one night for dinner, the kids came down to dinner and they said, Mom, Dad, we need to have a talk. Now, anybody here that's ever been in a long-term relationship, you know what it means when your partner says, we need to have a talk. And here were our kids saying, Mom, Dad, we need to have a talk. Okay. We want to go back to Colorado. We don't want to go anywhere else. We want to go back to Colorado. We know people there. We have friends there. Let's just go back to Colorado. Okay. Now, this was during the period where the rent prices in Colorado went up about 75,000% overnight, it seems. By the time we came back to Colorado, the whole situation had changed. Everything was different. There were things that were the same, people and community, and Aurora was still where it is, Arvada is still where it is, but everything else seemed to have changed. But what didn't change was our experience of this philosophy, our experience of this faith. But we did have a brand new opportunity to create a way of living. Now, this is all in 2017. For those that maybe know the story, New Thought Media Network, the current organization that I sometimes lead, wasn't formed until 2020. So what happened in between? Well, I did something that I tell people not to do. I stuck my head in the sand. And I tried to pretend that this stuff didn't really work. And I took jobs and I took gigs and we made money and things went, but nobody was happy. The kids were just getting by. I was slowly sinking into a depression that I hadn't yet realized. Got so bad, I even went back into telephone sales. I don't think I called any of you, so you're safe. But then it happened. Another phone call. Late in the afternoon, as I'm wallowing in my own pity, my first teacher calls, my mentor. the man who really taught me this philosophy, the man who really explained and demonstrated what it meant to be a spiritual leader in this world, to live a spiritual life in this world. And he called. And he asked a deep question. How you doing? Oh, you really want to know how I'm doing? You don't want to know how I'm doing. But I shared with him. And I poured it out to him. What he said to me was pretty, well, if you let it, it hurts. He said, Robert, sounds like you've let the ego back in charge. No one in this movement wants to hear that their ego is in charge. No one in this movement even wants to recognize that we have an ego. I found this quote, and this is by Michael Bernard Beckwith from his book, Life Visioning. In an evolutionary context, one purpose of the ego was to protect our individual identity, to recognize the difference between ourselves and a poisonous plant, aggressive animals, or tribes that could be dangerous to our tribe. Today, the evolutionary process requires that we transcend the ego and realize our oneness with all beings, with all life. When we do so, we stop being frightened by our individual differences, whether they be of race, sexual orientation, or form of worship. It wasn't so much the ego as it was I was just living in fear. 3 years of living in a subtle, low vibration of fear of how are we going to pay the bills? What's going to happen to my kids? What am I going to do for work? That constant barrage of that subtle fear. Now, if you would ask me on the street, how you doing? I'd be like, great, having a good time. Things are going good. Family's great. But inside I was afraid. I was afraid of what people here would think of me for coming back in less than a year from the great adventure I had been cast into. It was in that phone call, being the man that he is, he ignited that inner flame within me again. And what he told me was very simple and very serious. Robert, I want you to do a 30-day vision quest. 30 days, every day. I want you to send me a picture of the notes you take from your visioning experience every day for 30 days. And if you miss a day, we're done. Wasn't sure if he was real about that last part or not. So I dove into the practice of visioning. Now, I've kind of shifted the term of visioning just a little bit because it makes a lot of people go, what? Or, oh, you mean visualizing? No. If you're unfamiliar with the visioning process as it's known, let's think of it this way. I like to call it meditative inquiry. We bring ourselves into a meditative state. We calm everything down. We get rid of all the chatter and the noise in our brains. And then we ask some powerful questions. Questions like, what's my soul's purpose? What's the highest vision for me? What am I becoming? What do I have to let go of? What do I need to hold on to? What don't I know that I need to know? The type of questions that call us into a deeper reflection and a deeper introspection of who we are, who we've come here to be, and how we are supposed to be a part of a world that works for all. And in that 30 days, some things emerged that I had been aware of, that had emerged in other spiritual practices that I kind of had a fantasy about or a dream about. But as I look back on those notes now, for a little over 4 years later, 4.5 years later now, as I look back over those notes, New Thought Media Network has accomplished pretty much all of that. There's still some really big things in the future. There are some things that have emerged over the last 4 years that weren't there 4 years ago. Ideas and projects, connections, people, relationships, finance, ways to bring more money into the organization. The seeds of all of it were there. But remember, I had stuck my head in the sand. I wasn't playing this game anymore. Until my mentor said, do it. Play the game again. Do the visioning. Get in there and meditate. And he laid on me a question that I've been laying on clients for 20 years. Again, it's one that no practicing religious scientist wants to hear. How's your spiritual practice, he says. How's your spiritual practice? I had to admit to one of the greatest teachers I've looked up to over the last 30 years that I didn't have one any longer. The visioning ignited the flame to dive back more deeply into my other spiritual practices as well. Prayer, meditation, journaling, movement. I love walking the labyrinth. And over the next few months, a vision began to emerge. Now, if you're following the story, we were at January of 2020, and I'm not even going to talk about what happened a few months later, other than to say that a few months after that, everything opened up again. I had a sense of that freedom again, that we can do anything. Because everybody's locked at home, and everybody's sitting in front of their computers, and we can broadcast a message of positivity. We can broadcast a message of hope and trust and a deep sense of assurance that we are guided and led to our greatness in every experience, no matter what it might look like. We can share this great message with the world. That's what we set out to do. Along the way, I know we have ignited the flame within for others. I have watched it grow in my team. I've watched it grow in this community. Reverend Elzia was one of the first people to call me sometime late March of 2020 and say, dude, you're the techie guy. What do I do? I don't know, but I bet there is a power for good in the universe that does know. And I bet if we turn to our spiritual practice of meditative inquiry, we can figure that out. We can decipher the signs. We can look at the clues, and we can jump out onto the skinny branches and see what we can create. This community jumped out on the skinny branches again a couple of years later when you decided to move into this space and decided to create a hybrid service. So thank you again to everybody online watching. You make this possible too. Over the past number of years, I have learned I was leading from my ego. I was making it happen my way. I was trained. I had the degree. I had the credentials. I had the backing. I had everybody's best wishes. I had God on my side. How could I be leading from the ego? I was frightened I wasn't good enough. But here's what I know. Everybody's good enough at something. You may not be the best at this thing or that thing. Personally, I am not the greatest cook in the world. Lara says she's going out of town. My youngest goes, oh, great, Dad's cooking for 2 weeks. It's the truth. But what I know is there is a greatness within me. And if that's true of me, and we all really do live in a world of oneness, then that means there is greatness within each one of you as well. I want to invite you to keep an eye on what we're doing at New Thought Media Network. We're leading from vision and doing everything we can, not to eliminate the ego, but to be super aware, super conscious of when we're letting the ego tell us how it should be or what needs to happen. I believe that as a human race, we are on the edge. We are actually already in the activity of a massive new vision for how humanity shows up and lives on this planet. And I see everybody in the room nodding. So if you're not nodding out online, now is the time to go like this. Or you can give us a thumbs up or a like or something like that, right? Comment down below. There we go. Have you ever been on fire about something and nothing could conceive you otherwise? Where'd that come from? I think it comes from the vision. I think it comes from the grand vision for all of humanity, a world that works for all life. Not just those of us in the human bodysuit, but it works for the creepy crawly creatures and the furry creatures and the scaly creatures, the alien creatures that come and visit occasionally. It works for all of life. And you can try and stick your head in the sand if you want. But my sense is if you're in this room, you're not that ready to go there. You stop coming to church before you stick your head in the sand, by the way. I believe each of us has within our soul, within our heart, a burning sense of greatness, a vision, a dream, a desire, or that thing that we just can't say no to. My invitation to you today is to go out this year, this summer, this afternoon. Start living that. And if you're not sure how to do that, well, that's okay. That's why we have coaches in the world. That's why we have practitioners in the room. That's why we have people that can help you get in tune with what is your spiritual practice. I'm not going to say you need to do 30 days of visioning. Although I did recently have a student claim to me they were going to do a 90-day vision quest. And my immediate thought was, good luck. Let me know how that works out for you. That seems like a pretty big commitment. But it made me think, I could do that. What if I did that? What if everyone on a regular basis not just said, oh, I'm going to do a little visioning and a little meditation and I'm going to ask God what I should do here. But what if everyone made a commitment in your spiritual life to invest an amount of time daily to be in meditation and to inquire about what it is that wants to happen here? Heck, maybe you've got an important meeting coming up this week, and you know what? There are these great little meditation chambers on pretty much every floor of every office building I have ever been in. They're called restrooms. You slip in there, you close the door. Most of them have a little door you can lock even, a little cubicle within the cubicle. You go in there, you lock the cubicle, and you ask yourself, what is the highest vision for this meeting? Or what do I have to let go of for the highest vision to reveal itself in this meeting or this negotiation or in my relationship? What is it that I need to know? It doesn't have to be a big, huge, drawn-out process. You don't need angels singing and candles to light and bells to chime. Just get still, get quiet. Pull into a parking lot, park in the back corner, close your eyes and ask yourself, what am I becoming? What am I becoming in consciousness? Folks, I believe we are on the precipice of a brand new definition of visionary leadership. Not the type of leadership that says, I have had a vision, follow me. Not the type of leadership that says, I'm in the charge here, you're going to do this. Not the type of leadership that wants to send rockets filled with, send a car into space or create a new rocket ship. Not the type of leadership we've been led to believe is visionary, but the type of leadership that leads from the vision, that allows the vision to lead us. And I myself am on a personal mission to bring that message to a greater and greater audience. Let's lead from the vision. Let's share that vision. What I know is the collective consciousness of this group right here has all the capabilities to tap into the grand vision for the future of this community. And if we start getting together and we start practicing some meditative inquiry, and it might not look like everybody getting into the same room. It might look like people doing things in their own time frames and in their own ways. But if we can get consistent on being a vessel, an avenue through which the divine reveals itself, and everybody here knows we're already that anyway, right? So let's get intentional about it. What is it that is becoming in this spiritual community? What is this community becoming to serve this great vision of a world that works for all? That's a powerful question. And I guarantee if you ask it enough, it will change your life. Guaranteed. No other way around it. If you're still with me and you're in that praying style and that praying type, I know I'm running long, so we're going to make this quick. Life is good. And I know there is one power, presence, and intelligence that is operating as all of life. My life, the lives of everyone in this room, everyone watching this broadcast, those that are watching at another time, those that are tuning in from another dimension. The oneness is revealing itself as all of life. And we each have a unique mission. We each have a unique way of viewing that mission. We each have a unique way of expressing that mission, but the mission remains the same. Creating a world that works for all of life. I claim for each one here a deep sense of saying yes to whatever that is, whatever is bubbling up within that is saying, this is mine to do. This is why I am here. And I claim for each a deep sense of knowing that there is nothing that can get in the way of the demonstration of the grand truth. We are vessels of the divine. We are conduits through which the world is made whole. We are the ones we have been waiting for, and it's time for us to stand up and let it be known. We are stewards of the vision, and that is good and very good. And so I am grateful for this time. I am grateful for this opportunity to be together, most especially grateful to witness the vision revealing itself in magnificent ways. And if any word of this has resonated with you in any way, I invite you to join me in an affirmation of truth as we cast this prayer into the law by simply saying, and so it is. Thank you, dear ones. Alice is coming up. It means I'm going this way.
Thank you, Dr. Robert. It was, I was having a conversation with the divine this morning on my way in. So visioning, I think, is the answer to work on. So thank you so much. And now it's time for our offertory. We are so grateful and blessed for everyone's support of CSL Denver, whether it's in time, treasure, or talent, and especially during these times of change. Whether this is your first time joining us or you're a returning community participant, we want to thank you for your continuing financial support of the important work we are striving to provide. Right now, there are several ways you can make your financial contribution to Center for Spiritual Living. Tim's going to be passing the plate, and we also have some ways to do it across the bottom of the screen for those who are online. So anyway, however you choose to give, please do so. Now, please repeat with me our usual affirmation. Hold your hands to your heart. It doesn't, with your gift or without your gift, just knowing that you hold it to your heart, and repeat with me our affirmation. This perfect gift is spirit informed, circulating and blessing all that it touches. Freely I give and joyously I receive. And so it is. Amen. And next week is Father's Day on Sunday, and we also have our Divine Dialogue right after service. So please join us from whenever service ends to about 12 o'clock to just have some discussion about God, Reverend Elzia's talk, whatever you want to talk about. And we have some older Science Mind magazines over here that are free, and we have the current Science Mind magazines, the May-June issue, available for $4. And if you would like to hear some good news of the world, to affirm the good in the world, we have a link on our Facebook page called And Now the Good News. And this is through Dr. Roberts' New Thought Media Network, and they just provide so many programs on New Thought Media Network. Radio programs, prayers, talks, just all kinds of wonderful, wonderful things. So there's something for everyone. And we are so truly blessed by everyone who has chosen to support CSL Denver by showing up on Sundays or watching our services online. We know that as we move through the rest of the year, the Divine Beloved is guiding us and loving each and every one of us. So thank you so much. And now let's close out with Karen Drucker's gratitude song.
Hey, I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for all that I have. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for all that I have. Hey! Oh yeah. Grateful. I just say I am so grateful every day for all I have. Every day. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for all I have. Every day I say it. Grateful. How I'm grateful. Every day. Oh yeah. I am so grateful. Oh yeah. So grateful. 'Cause I accept and I receive. I am so grateful. Oh yes, I am. I am. I am. So grateful, hey, grateful. I just count my blessings. Grateful. I just count my blessings.
New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network.